Okay, just another quick video removing frets from an old guitar. This one is a custom that I put together for JT and it's back in to be refretted. I originally fretted it with sort of vintagey style frets, but JT is I know him better now as a customer and as a friend, but I know for a fact he's a jumbo fret guy. So if this was rewound a year or fast forwarded a year on this guitar, I wouldn't have put these sort of medium-esque jumbos on at all. So the key thing is on this defretting thing is to lift these frets out with as little damage as possible to the fingerboard. Now I've used super glue on this in the past, so I know the kind of quality. I know the nature of the glue in here. It's not, excuse me, I've got things in the way of everything. I'm just trying to realign you so you can see. It's not going to work very well. Hold that there, move these out of the way. Yeah, so I know the nature of the glue involved in this thing. So, as a result, if I can see it's crunchy, it's super glue, so the heat probably is a bit irrelevant. Some people recommend putting water on rosewood fingerboards. Not so good. I don't think it makes a lot of sense on a maple one, particularly one that's got a nitro finish, which I think this has on it. But there's very little in the way of super glue on this, so it's just enough to hold it and I can remove the frets quite easily. A tip that I would give if you're doing a defretting like this is to start on the, if it's a right-handed guitar, start on the thumb edge. Sometimes you have the biggest trouble in all of this is getting the first bite, and you can leave a little indentation. You can't avoid it sometimes. It's where you have to dig into the fingerboard and the fret end to get a bite in order to lift it. Now I've been down here and made a bite on all of these. The secret is, first of all, switch it around so if you do make a little impression, it's on the thumb end, not the finger's end, that feel it much more sensitively. But the other thing is go right to the edge and get that first nip just under the bit of fret, and it's incredibly hard. Most of the time if you try that you'll miss and you'll be kind of off the end of the fingerboard not grabbing anything, but you can learn to just nip that first bit. It's very rare now that I find myself sort of scuffing and chewing up a fret trying to get it out. There was a notable exception just recently when I was doing the frets on the old Antoria Les Paul that I took in part exchange, and again I needed to give it a refret, jumbo of course, and there's a bit of maple come up there, but it's minor. But yeah, on that one, the method by which they had installed the frets was kind of one of the two methods. The one method is you do the fingerboard first, clean it all up, and then apply the frets to that, which gives you a very nicely finished fingerboard. You can get a highly glossy fingerboard that way because you can buff it all as one unit. Then you put the frets in on top of the gloss buffed fingerboard, and it looks great if you like a glossy fingerboard. The alternative way, which the Antoria had done, and actually quite a few Japanese guitars I've seen from the late 70s and early to mid 80s have had done, is that there's some little chips coming up there. They put the frets in and then they spray over them afterwards, because it's quicker. Because if you do that, you don't have to clean out the fret slots between each set of coats, which you do with the other method. Anywho, so the Antoria had that. Now this was done that way. I think maybe I didn't, but as long as it's a light coat, so if you stick to a sort of light satin nitro, lightly done finish, then spraying over the frets is perfectly acceptable, because as you fret level and do your final polish out, you take off the little bit of the little thin coating of poly or nitro, whatever's on your fret. But on the Antoria, they had used poly and they had sprayed it a really gloopy, thick, beautiful, lustrous, you might call it, coat, multiple coats, very thick finishing of poly, and as a result it was laid over the frets like an undulating carpet. And if you think about trying to pull the frets out from underneath that carpet, well, you've got the natural tang of the fret holding the thing in place. You've got any glue that's in there, I don't know if there was, but then you've got this very sticky, thick glassy like carpet holding the whole lot down as well, and that is it made it pretty difficult. So I did end up with some of those ends of the frets being really chewed in order to get a bite at them. This is coming up really well, which is sort of how I expect my fretting to come up, because I try to use a very small amount of glue and clear up all the excess so there's not sort of wedges of it catching anywhere. I just want enough to hold it down and make the process quick enough to be, I suppose you could say, financially viable from a business point of view, because sort of I've seen purists, and I used to do it this way, I've seen purists using wood glues to hold the frets in, which is nice, but you really have to put a block of frets in and press them with a radius block, and you know, clamp them for several hours really to get any chance of a good grip. And to me, I haven't got the time really, or I have the time, but it becomes economically unviable for me to do it. It slows everything down. So I'm trying to have perfected sort of the super glue technique, which actually I've seen. Is this bit of blood? It is, but where did it come from? I've seen, you know, I've seen various opinions on it. I've seen some people damn it entirely, and I've seen some people swear by it, and so on. Right, that's the old frets gently pulled. I'm going to hang my head in shamed Homdooley. No, I'm going to hang my soldering iron there. We are on 6 minutes. This is another not very short one. What I'm going to do next, is I'm going to show you just a bit of this procedure, which ties in with the next video, which is all about pressing your new frets in. But this is about making sure that the ends are filled in. Now, previously I think I filled these ends with some glue or something, and I'm struggling to find a method that works. But I don't like the messy look of these ends at the moment, so I really think this guitar needs me to do this to it to ensure that the next set of frets goes in cleanly and securely. Now, for me, this business of a clear slot with proper seated frets is the absolute priority in all of this. If I can do it whilst retaining or preserving a previous what you might call, you know, a previous end fill or something like that, then I will do it. But if it comes to one or the other has to give, then my priority is going to be the slot, clear slot for the new frets. That's an absolute must. So it takes precedence over everything else really. So kind of a couple of nice gentle draw throughs. Maybe you can see better that way. So trying not to rip too much, just let it gently cut out, and you can see it's pulling out previous dried glue and just making the slot nice and clean for the next fret. And I'll just go along also this little ridge where the frets went in, just to make sure there's no kind of crusty bits of glue, even microscopically, sticking up, so that we get the underside of the crown sticks to the surface really well. I'll give it a clean off too, because it's got some finger goo building up. Okay, that's enough for this video. See you for the next one.